and good Tuesday morning, everybody. Hope you had a good, long holiday weekend. I'm Maria Bartiromo. Thanks so much for joining us this Tuesday morning. It is Tuesday, May 30th. It is 8 a.m. on the East Coast. President Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy striking an agreement over the weekend to raise the debt ceiling while capping and cutting some spending in the coming year. The House Rules Committee meeting today to discuss the deal. Some Republicans, however, are already unhappy. Utah Senator Mike Lee tweeted this: punting at your opponent 1 yard line isn't a winning strategy. Kentucky's Rand Paul slamming the deal, tweeting, no real cuts to see here. Conservatives have been sold out once again. South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham calling for more spending, writing, quote, I will use all powers available to me in the Senate to have amendment votes to undo this catastrophic for defense. I support raising the debt limit for 90 days to give us a chance to correct this disaster for defense, writes Lindsey Graham. Joining me right now is Tennessee Senator, member of the Senate Appropriations, Banking, Foreign Relations, and Rules Committee. Bill Hagerty is here. Senator, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining me.
Good to see you, Maria. Thank you.
First question, where are you on this deal?
You know, Maria, this language has been out for less than 48 hours. We're pouring through it right now. In fact, I'm flying to Washington right after this interview. I'm in Nashville at this moment. But I'm deeply concerned about it. We've got a tremendous amount of difficulty in our system right now because of the massive spending that the Democrats have undertaken. That spending has put our economy into a very challenging situation, and we've got national security crises mounting all over the world. This needs to be a serious set of cuts. And what I know, it's better than the blank check that the Biden administration was asking for, but there's a lot more to be dug into. The House has got the bill right now. They're going to move through their process today with the Rules Committee, and then on Wednesday night after the markets close, my understanding is they'll vote on it. I'm going to be watching this very closely and talking with my colleagues.
This is the Fiscal Responsibility Act, the June 5th date when Janet Yellen says we've run out of money is quickly approaching. And the core component of this is 2 years of spending caps enforced by the sequester. The bill would implement caps at $1.59 trillion in fiscal year 24 and $1.606 trillion in fiscal year 25. You've also got Kevin McCarthy's promise that he was going to rescind the money to the IRS. Republicans are saying there's not enough there. The president still has billions to hire all those IRS agents to audit American families. And then, of course, there's the issue over defense spending at a time that China is increasing its provocations against the United States. Where specifically will you be looking for change?
I'm definitely concerned about the IRS spending. I think everybody in Tennessee, all of my constituents are worried about it. This only cuts back hiring for 1 year of these new agents. Overall, my focus is going to be on the impact in the economy, Maria, and getting it turned around. There are some positive reforms, as I understand it, in terms of permitting, things that will actually help get our economy restarted. But we also need to take into account the fact that we're at the precipice of a debt shutdown. This isn't just a government shutdown. This is going to bring the full faith and credit of the United States into play. That would have a dramatic impact on people that are trying to buy a home, people who are trying to refinance anything in America. In fact, it would have an impact on the cost of our debt here and our interest expense as a nation. So it's a precarious place that we found ourselves in. I've noticed that Janet Yellen has moved the X date out to give enough time to get this navigated. I think there's going to be more negotiation here, but again, a lot more to learn over the course of the next several days.
I spoke with August Pfluger in the House. He, of course, represents the Permian Basin region in Texas, and he says that he likes the permitting reform section of the bill because it cuts some of the red tape that delays or cancels energy infrastructure proposals. There's an establishment of a lead agency for environmental reviews. He says it streamlines the process to establish one environmental document when multiple agencies are involved. Look, you've got to say Joe Biden did move on some of these things. He moved on permitting. He moved on caps. But the Republicans feel it's just not enough. Is that a good encapsulation of what we're talking about here?
Well, the permitting issue is an area where, I've been very focused, Maria. You remember what I did on permitting reform for semiconductor manufacturing here in America.
That's right.
That was a major step in the right direction. We need to see more of it. But again, I'm going to be balancing all of this against the fact that we're giving up 2 years of extension here. We better be getting something significant for it.
I want to get your take on the bank regulation that you've been working on as well. The Wall Street Journal is out with a new op-ed called Scapegoating the Short Sellers. They write, quote, banks want the SEC to prevent bets that share prices will fall. Bad idea. Senator, you're pushing this legislation to relieve stress on banking and restore confidence in America's financial sector. Could not be more important as the regionals are lending to 90% or 80% of the small business community. This is about small business, right?
It absolutely is, Maria, and you're great to cover this. So you earlier laid out the impact that we would have in the regional banks and the smaller banks in terms of their lending, particularly you were covering on the commercial real estate areas, but this is true throughout our economy. We need to make certain that the regional bank sector is strong. What we've got right now, we had a tremendous amount of short pressure on regional banks earlier this month. That's eased a bit, but I remain very concerned because we've seen the most rapid rate increase imposed on our economy by the Fed in the past 4 decades. That's put a lot of stress on banks. We need to be careful that we're not going to allow this to turn into another precipitous meltdown. So my legislation addresses it on multiple points. The most important, Maria, is that it facilitates mergers of banks if the end result's going to be a healthier combination. Right now, we've got a regulatory system in Washington and an administration in the Biden administration that has been, very, very difficult to deal with in terms of bank mergers. And basically, they put a huge chilling effect on that. My legislation would grant a waiver for bank mergers that, again, if a healthy bank is trying to acquire one under stress, the result of the two banks combined is going to be a healthy bank. Let that pass through quickly on a fast-track basis, and that will allow the market to resolve the problems as opposed to leaving it to the FDIC, the auction process, and ultimately the American taxpayer to deal with it. Yeah. So we've got to step in and put some real reforms in place. I think I'll get bipartisan support for this.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to, identify whether or not this is one of those GameStop moments where you've got short sellers trying hard to take down banks and spreading rumors about it that actually affects the markets. But I want to get your take on China as well, Senator, because Pentagon officials say that China has declined a request for Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin to meet with his counterpart, Beijing's new defense minister, this week. I spoke with the Gatestone Institute senior fellow Gordon Chang earlier in the show to get his reaction. Watch this.
Sure. First of all, we should not have requested the meeting with the Chinese defense minister, General Li. And the reason is the guy's under sanctions. These are our sanctions. And by requesting the conversation, we showed that we're not serious about the measures that we impose. And that it contributes to a further breakdown in deterrence.
Senator, your thoughts? Why are we begging China for meetings rather than being tough on them for sending a surveillance balloon into America and allowing it to traverse the country for almost a week?
Next only to you, Maria, Gordon Chang has the clearest view on this, and I could not agree more. What our administration, the Biden administration, seems to be doing is just, asking for a press op, a photo op with these senior leaders in China. I don't see any benefit to us at all. We need to be standing strong right now, making our economy stronger, making our national defense stronger, and speaking from a position of strength. This is anything but that, and how embarrassing. The Chinese saw the opportunity here, and they took it. And now you've got Lloyd Austin in a position where he's on his heels. We should not have ever asked for this. We shouldn't have found ourselves in this position.
Once again, America on its heels regarding communist China. Amazing. Senator, it's always a pleasure to get your take on these things.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Maria.
sir.